Nobody saw this coming. Keith Urban, one of country music's biggest names, a man worth millions who once seemed untouchable, is now facing rumors that he could be on the brink of financial ruin. After his $325 million divorce from Nicole Kidman, reports suggest Keith's fortune could be taking a serious hit. Insiders claim he's been quietly downsizing, cutting costs, and offloading assets, and fans are starting to notice that something's changed. The same man who once sang about love and redemption is now being forced to face one of the harshest realities in celebrity life. Even fame, success, and fortune can disappear faster than you think. But how did it get this bad? How did a marriage that looked like a Hollywood fairy tale end in a situation where Keith Urban might be struggling to stay financially afloat? Let's take a deep look inside the shocking fallout of Keith and Nicole's split, and how one of the most powerful couples in showbiz went from red carpets and romance to what's shaping up to be one of the costliest divorces in entertainment history. It all started with one line. At a Nashville charity event earlier this year, Keith Urban cracked a joke that immediately set off alarm bells. He told the crowd, "Man, divorce is expensive. I might need to start selling guitars to pay for this one." Everyone laughed, but according to people who were there, Keith wasn't joking. The comment quickly made its way online, and soon fans and tabloids were buzzing with speculation. Was Keith Urban, the chart-topping, Grammy-winning superstar, actually struggling with money after his split from Nicole Kidman? At first, it sounded like typical celebrity exaggeration, but then details started to emerge, and the numbers didn't lie. When Nicole Kidman filed for divorce in September 2025, the headlines focused on the staggering figure attached to their separation: $325 million. Now that number represents their combined wealth, not what was exchanged. But even then, the financial fallout was massive. Nicole's personal fortune alone is estimated at around $250 million. Keith's around $75 million. And while Nicole's acting career is still thriving, Keith's recent tours haven't brought in what they used to. Add legal fees, property division, and the emotional toll of the split, and suddenly, that $75 million doesn't look as safe as it once did. Because here's the thing, it's not that Keith Urban is broke, it's that his lifestyle and obligations were built around a partnership that no longer exists. And now that the partnership is gone, he's being forced to reevaluate everything. When Nicole and Keith got married back in 2006, Nicole had already learned one hard lesson from her first marriage to Tom Cruise. Love doesn't always last, but contracts do. So before she said "I do" again, she made sure her lawyers protected her assets. That's where the infamous cocaine clause comes in, one of the most talked about celebrity prenups ever written. The clause reportedly stated that if Keith relapsed into substance abuse, Nicole could walk away immediately and keep her entire fortune, while Keith would only receive a one-time payout of about $11 million. At the time, that seemed fair. Keith had publicly battled addiction before, and Nicole was taking a precaution. But when their marriage finally ended, that prenup became the single most powerful document in their relationship, one that may have locked Keith out of any major financial claims. When the divorce filings became public, fans were shocked by one number: 306 versus 59. That's how many days per year Nicole has custody of their two daughters compared to Keith. 306 with mom, 59 with dad. That kind of imbalance doesn't just shape family life, it shapes money too. Nicole's role as the primary residential parent means her home is the legal base for the children, giving her control over household decisions and financial arrangements tied to their upbringing. Keith, meanwhile, reportedly prepaid his child support in one large lump sum. No monthly payments, no negotiations, just one huge check handed over. It sounds clean on paper, but that kind of payment can drain millions up front, especially when you add in legal fees, real estate costs, and taxes. And remember, Nicole still owns most of the couple's highest value properties. During their nearly two-decade marriage, Nicole and Keith collected homes like trophies. They owned 11 properties across the globe, including a Nashville mansion, a Sydney farmhouse, a penthouse in New York, and a Beverly Hills retreat. Together, those properties are worth over $56 million. Now, insiders say Keith has been trying to offload some of those homes, especially the Nashville estate, which comes with massive upkeep costs. Just to maintain a mansion of that size costs hundreds of thousands a year in property tax, maintenance, staff, and security. Nicole reportedly kept her Sydney retreat and her Manhattan apartment, two of the most valuable assets. Keith got Nashville, but that win might be more of a burden than a blessing. The word from Nashville real estate circles is that he's been quietly exploring buyers. And if that's true, it's not just about moving, it's about survival. Now, let's talk about what really hits hard for Keith: his career. For years, Keith Urban was one of country music's biggest touring acts. He sold out arenas worldwide, pulling in millions per year. But lately, things have been slowing down. His most recent High and Alive tour didn't perform as well as expected. Some shows were postponed, and others didn't sell out. That matters, because touring is where musicians make the bulk of their money. And when those revenues dip, the financial strain starts to show fast. Combine that with a costly divorce, high legal fees, and lifestyle adjustments, and it's no wonder people close to Keith are saying he's feeling the pressure. He's still a millionaire, but he's not living like one anymore. People around Keith have noticed the difference. One source told Radar Online, Keith's not out partying, he's not throwing events, he's not spending like he used to. He's keeping a low profile and trying to get back to the basics. That's code for he's cutting back. He's reportedly traveling less privately, staying in smaller accommodations during shows, and focusing more on songwriting and producing than big live events. That doesn't mean he's broke, but it means he's adjusting. And for a man used to luxury, that's a huge shift. If you really want to know how Keith's doing, listen to his music. His upcoming album, rumored to be in the works, is said to feature deeply personal tracks about loss, regret, and rebuilding. People who've heard early demos say it's his rawest work yet. Emotional, stripped down, and painfully honest. Titles like Empty House and Back to Nashville are reportedly inspired by the divorce and his new reality. And honestly, that might be his saving grace. Because if there's one thing Keith Urban has always been good at, it's turning pain into hits. While Keith's been readjusting, Nicole Kidman has been thriving. She's filming major projects, attending events, and reportedly focusing on her daughters and her mental health. Her career hasn't slowed. In fact, it's accelerated. She's working with Amazon Studios, filming Practical Magic 2, and expanding her production company. Financially, she's in her prime. Emotionally, sources say she's relieved and recentered. And to be honest, that contrast between Nicole's calm rise and Keith's quiet struggle says everything about how differently they've handled the fallout. What's really telling is that both have gone almost completely silent online. Keith's posts are minimal, no flashy jets or luxury moments, just simple guitar videos, short thank you messages, and gratitude posts. Nicole, meanwhile, has been more selective, posting polished promotional shots and family tributes, with zero mention of Keith. It's clear that both of them are trying to move on in their own ways, but the emotional gap between them is impossible to ignore. Insiders say that the tension between Keith and Nicole wasn't about one big event. It was about years of slow disconnection. Their demanding schedules, long stretches apart, and conflicting priorities created a distance that even love couldn't bridge. And financially, that's where the real story lies. When a couple like that splits, it's not just about dividing money. It's about untangling an entire empire. Their joint investments, staff, accountants, and touring contracts all had to be restructured. And that's where Keith reportedly took the hardest hit. Nicole's income comes from long-term contracts and steady production work. Keith's relies on live performance, which post-divorce has been shaky. That's why sources are saying his financial future looks uncertain. Not ruined, but unstable. But here's the part I actually respect about Keith Urban. He's not playing the victim. He's rebuilding. He's reportedly rebranding himself with a more authentic sound, focusing on stripped-back acoustic performances, local Nashville shows, and writing for other artists. People close to him say he's been working on new songs daily, and has even been approached by streaming platforms for a potential documentary about his life post-divorce. If that happens, it could reignite his career in a big way, because audiences love a comeback story, especially one this raw. Keith Urban's story isn't just about divorce. It's about the reality of fame. When you build your life around success and image, it's easy to forget how fragile it all is. Nicole Kidman came into the marriage financially prepared. Keith didn't. And when things ended, the results reflected that imbalance. But beyond the money, there's a deeper story here, about a man who lost his partner, his family life, and the structure that held him steady. Money problems can be fixed, but that emotional loss, that's the kind of wound that lingers. So, is Keith Urban really broke? No, not in the literal sense. He's not bankrupt, and he's not losing his home. But compared to his former lifestyle, insiders say it's a massive downgrade. He's spending less, earning less, and reevaluating what his future looks like. And when you combine emotional loss with financial strain, it starts to feel like rock bottom, even if your bank account still says millionaire. So the truth is, Keith Urban isn't broke yet, but the road ahead doesn't look easy. Where does Keith Urban go from here? If he plays his cards right and leans into the authenticity fans love him for, this could be the start of a new era. One where he stops chasing the celebrity machine and starts focusing on what made him great in the first place, his music. Because at the end of the day, audiences forgive, they forget, and they rally behind redemption. Keith Urban's been through worse: addiction, rehab, heartbreak, and he's always come back stronger. This could be his defining moment if he chooses to turn pain into purpose. So, what do you think? Has Keith Urban really hit rock bottom after his divorce from Nicole Kidman? Or is this just his rebuild era before a massive comeback? Let me know what you think down below. Anyway, this concludes today's video. Be sure to subscribe to LoafTube for future celebrity videos and turn on that post notification bell so you don't miss out on any future uploads. Until then, see you in the next one.